Hi everyone, so I'm here to discuss part 3 of chapter 1, Eiji Wolf of the Ninth Avenue. So far I was incorrect. I thought for sure we'll be introduced to Logomon in this part, but we were not. So before we start discussing the part as a whole, let's just do a quick summary. So we're introduced to the digital world. We're seeing through Professor Rosenji's lab that the digital world seems to be part of the deep web, or the dark web, I suppose. We also discovered that holoization, that's a word that was introduced in the previous part. Holoization is 3D modeling data that's allowed to project into the real world. It's explained that this was created from Professor Rosenji's lab, which is called, I have my notes right here, Aberdeen Electronics Digital Lab. And the holoization is also what's used in storefronts as well. In part 1, when it was explained that there was holograms 3D modeled, it's coming from this technology. It's also explained, I'm looking at my, it's also explained what Digimon are. So they're known as living artificial intelligence within this iteration of Digimon. Eiji was a little bit confused when that's stated. He thinks to himself, living AI. In addition to that, it's revealed that the researchers are very much well versed in the world of Digimon. They really are aware about the different evolutionary types, the different child, baby, child, adult, perfect, and then ultimate. They're really aware about data, vaccine, virus, the different types of Digimon, the way that they're modeled after different animals, different motifs, different fighting styles, and so forth. So even though the general public's not aware about the digital world, researchers, more specifically Professor Ruzenji, he seems to be the leading researcher into discovering and expanding upon the knowledge of the digital world. So that's pretty cool. Continuing forward, so as I already stated, the digital world, despite it being unknown to the public, we are aware about it. Specifically, researchers are already aware about it. It's only a secret to the public. After that, it's explained that Digimon are used for both, but rather than not Digimon, but the digital space is used for both good and bad practices, and more specifically, Digimon living AI can also be used for bad or good practices. And when this is explained, Professor Rusenji actually demonstrates to Eiji a hologram of a passenger flight where a dad or a husband seems to be recording either his wife or his daughter. It's not quite clear who he's recording, but it doesn't really matter though, because unfortunately all of a sudden it seems like the plane does crash, and there's a loud whooshing sound, and it ends up nosediving. It's stated that it crashes about 3,000 feet in the air. Let me quickly find that. I do know where it's located at. And, so I was way off the mark, and crashes headlong out of the clouds at an altitude of more than 30,000 feet, not 3,000. And then after that, let me go back to my notes. After that, Eiji gives Professor Roshuji his digital dock, and within the digital dock is the Modoku Betamon that Eiji was chasing after in part 1. And the professor takes that from him. He's a little bit disappointed. It seems like Eiji, when I say he, it's Professor Ruzenji seems disappointed in Eiji, and the fact that Eiji is unaware about the difference between a Betamon and a Modoki Betamon. I might be mispronouncing that, excuse me. But Eiji is able to do an educated guess, and he states it's the color that's the difference between the two. A regular Betamon is much more vibrant. And the professor is quite excited from that response, and he tells Eiji, I'm going to give you a bit of a bonus because you do know the difference. And Eiji becomes excited. He thinks to himself that he's very excited. He says, thank you. Yes, thank you. That's what he says out loud. And he thinks to himself he could get a beef bow with the raw egg and with the pickle, I believe he states. Actually, let me just quickly look at that. Yes, thank you for that. It looks like my guess was correct. Now I can have a beef bow with pickles and a raw egg for dinner. The client seems very satisfied. And then after that, let me go back to, I was going back to my notes right here. Then after that, Ichi gives the digital dock to Professor Ruzenji, and he takes the Modoki Betamon into his own personal files. And the chapter ends right there. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't completely end right there. It also ends with Professor Ruzenji explaining that they were very close to creating something known as Digimon Land. And within Digimon Land, they were going to be selling Digimon characters to the general public, which is actually pretty funny. So that's the summary for part 3. Essentially, we're just quite literally introduced to more world building. We're introduced to the elements of Digimon and the digital world. And actually, even though it seems like not a lot is happening, I actually really do appreciate the setup that's being done. Now we know from the perspective of the reader that Digimon are not a complete secret. When we continue with the story, we're going to be dealing with individuals who are already aware about the digital world and Digimon versus people who are not aware about that. I think with this story, we're going to be focusing on the former rather than the latter. Hence why eventually Eiji is going to get his Digimon linker, and then his partner will be Logomon, right? I am quite curious about when Logomon will be making his introduction. I was thinking for sure it will be with part 3. I don't want to say it's going to be part 4 just because it seems I think we're going to be introduced to more elements, more supporting cast before we actually get to Logomon. I'm predicting maybe at the end of part 4 we'll be introduced to the linker, or maybe we'll discuss the linker, but it'll end with it'll end right before we're introduced to Logomon fully. So what can we discuss from this part 3? So let me go ahead and look. So I have 2 notes, one just for the summary and one for the notes or the personal notes that I noted down. So right off the bat, I'm really loving the showing versus telling. So in case you guys are not aware, what is showing versus telling? It's when one just tells us the information, but we can't really imagine or envision that information. I love how in part 1 we're introduced with the code start. 3 Tyrannomon are chasing a Betamon, and one of those Tyrannomon it's fallen. And part 1 ends with Eiji attempting to capture that Modiki Betamon, or try to capture another. I'm curious at the beginning of that code start if he was chasing a regular Betamon. No, it wasn't Modiki Betamon, pardon me, because in this part 3, Eiji explains that he sent out an electric shock. So, excuse me, so I love how in part 1, even though the Tyrannomon was a failure in catching the Modiki Betamon, the narrative didn't feel the need to have a part where they explicitly tell the reader that the Modiki Betamon was caught. That's showing. That tells us that off screen, off the page, when we weren't reading from the perspective of Eiji, the Tyrannomon did what they were meant to do, and they were successful, right? I love that. A really good example of this would be from the show The Wire. They do this quite often, where in the first season, they show the audience what The Wire is, how to set up a wiretap, but with the following seasons, they just completely omit that part. Because the show is aware, they don't need to show that to the audience. Again, that's just a waste of time. It's just filler. And I'm hoping that this is going to be evidence that the writing for Digimon Seekers is going to be a little bit more nuanced, not as superficial as a lot of people were thinking. Showing versus telling is not something that one does superficially. It's something that one does when they have a specific foreshadowing. Not foreshadowing, when they have a specific idea of where the story is going. So I really do appreciate that. And again, there's a little bit of showing and telling with part 2. Again, when Professor Ruzenji first meets Eiji, where it's revealed it's not the first meeting. Literally, they've been having conversations, just audio, not in person. I just really enjoy that. I also do like how we're learning more about Eiji. So I guess he really is a poor individual, or he's just strapped for cash. I love how he gets so excited to get extra. He gets rewarded for knowing that information about Mondoki Betamon. And I love how he gets so excited to have that extra cash to feed himself. I'm not going to lie, I do wish he would have mentioned he could feed his Tyrannomon. But who knows? I'm really hoping they explain what's going on in that regard. If people are not aware about Digimon, how is Eiji going after contracts? Or maybe he is aware. We'll wait and see. I don't want to make any speculation quite yet, especially because we don't have a chapter 1 fully. We just have parts of chapter 1. And then in addition to that, something that I thought was really comical was Digimon Land. I can't help but feel like that's a little bit of foil to the real world. Obviously, there is no Digimon Land in the real world as much as Digimon fans would like one. I think there is a Pokemon Land, right, in Japan. Or they're going to build one. But I love how Digimon Land was explained that they were going to sell to the general public Digimon characters. To people who were not aware about the digital world. And one thinks about the Vital Bracelet, one thinks about the trading card game, one thinks about the anime, the V-Pets. And what's the reason why a lot of people are into those that merchandise? It's because it's Digimon related, right? So it did make me chuckle a little bit. And in fact, I do want to read exactly what's stated from that portion. There was a promotional video. That was a promotional video. We used to have a plan to expand into the entertainment sector. It was to be called Digimon Land. Nice. The The idea was to sell Digimon as characters to the general public who don't know anything about the digital world. I especially like that Digimon are AI creatures. Fantasy, fiction, if I were a kid, I'll be hooked. Eiji let his imagination get the best of him. Digimon are alive. And that's how this part ends. Um, I just really appreciate that. Just I can't help but feel. I don't think Bandai is making fun of their other fan base, but I think Bandai's just they are aware that again the reason why we're so invested into Digimon is because we appreciate the Digimon. Well, there's a portion of the fan base that really appreciates the Digimon designs. I really find what's incredible about the. Let me start over. Excuse me. What I really find incredible about the Digimon community is that different fans like Digimon for a different reason. I myself am a fan of Digimon because of the anime. But there's people who are who are fan of Digimon not because of the anime, but because of the V pets. Other individuals might be into Digimon not because of the V pets or the anime, but because of the video games. And then lastly, those people are into Digimon because of the trading card game, right? So I just really love how it's focusing on the fact that. So what I want to focus on, I'm sure there's a subset of Digimon fans who are into Digimon specifically because of the aesthetic designs, because of how Digimon look, because fans often do talk about this. It's awesome how Digimon are kind of cutely, both fugly and cute at the same time. And it's a really cool aesthetic that Digimon have. So that's essentially part 3 of chapter 1. I am still looking forward to part 4 tomorrow. I am also still quite looking forward to the introduction of the Digimon Linker Strap and of Logomon. And we'll see when that will occur. Thank you so much for joining me on this summary and analysis. Have a great day, or rather have a prodigious day. Excuse me for stumbling with my words in this video, I'm not going to lie. The reason why I don't typically post videos on weekdays is because my time is occupied. So I'm kind of doing this in the middle of other things as well. Hopefully I wasn't rushing too quickly and I wasn't stumbling with my words too much. Thank you so much. Take care.